Are you willing to pay the carbon neutral price for your daily lunch? My name is Tabea Kraus and I'm a fourth-year PhD candidate in law and economics. And my latest project was here on campus with the cafeteria provider Vitam, where we used so-called nudges to see if we can make people make more sustainable choices. So for the nudges that we used in our canteen experiment, we looked specifically at the so-called environmental costs of food. And to calculate environmental costs of food, you use a technique that is commonly referred to as environmental true pricing. And you look at environmental impact factors for food that is not only emissions, but also land use, water use, acidification. And you calculate those into monetary terms using so-called monetization factors. And you end up with the environmental costs that would need to be included in the price to make a product fully climate neutral. I actually brought something here that we used in the study, one of the boards that we showed next to our food options to show people what the environmental impact of different foods is in monetary terms. And what you see up here is the original price, and we added the costs in 3 different brackets to it to get to a carbon neutral price. And this is how we offered a carbon neutral price that people were free to pay voluntarily if they would like to when they wanted to offset their emissions. In the results from our study, we were actually super happy to see that people chose the higher carbon neutral price for almost 30% of all food options sold. That was more than we had initially anticipated. And I think this also shows that there is quite a high willingness to pay those higher prices to incorporate environmental costs. Unfortunately, our study showed that voluntary price differences most likely will not be enough to really make people make more sustainable choices. And we will most likely need mandatory initiatives such as mandatory sustainability labeling, higher environmental standards, and perhaps also really the inclusion in the price. Ideally, we would have a label that shows the environmental costs when they're also included to really incentivize people to make better choices while at the same time understanding what the differences are.